Thank you. So I just got told that there is 100,000 kids doing this course. Is that right? 100,000?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. Yes.
And there's only 100?
We have, select few in the room today, but there is a lot of yes.
Right, so how many is about 100? Yeah, 80? Yeah, so it's about 1% of you guys are here. Right, so how did you guys make it here? Did you, sorry? No. Did you register on a website, do something like that? Yeah. Okay, so what makes you guys be the only ones here, the 1%ers? What makes you guys get here? Okay, most likely you actioned something, right? You did something? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Right, so the thing about all of this is that everybody has ideas, right? Everyone has ideas. How many ideas have you guys had today? You probably had hundreds. You know, I have a new idea about a business every day. And the real struggle with that is that ideas mean nothing. It's the action that you take that means everything. So even the action of registering for this event is really important. You made something, you did something. You know, Adam talked about integrity and doing things. That is making your idea a reality. And that is everything you're going to do in entrepreneurship. So hands up, who thinks their idea is the best one in the room? You're all shy, aren't you? Because if you didn't think that, you wouldn't be here. Right, so everyone does. Everyone thinks that their idea is the best. So everybody here thinks that their idea is the best, otherwise you wouldn't be an entrepreneur. And if you don't, you need to start thinking that way. Your idea is the best. Which brings us to the very first point. Everyone knows who this guy is? It created a small app everyone uses. Right? This is called the founder's dilemma. Right? Everybody thinks that their idea is the best because it's their idea. Right? This is a problem because everybody else will tell you that you're wrong. So you're going to have this idea in your head, you're going to be thinking, oh, it's perfect, I know everything about this idea, and everyone else is going to be telling you that you're wrong. Should you listen to them? Well, yes, you should. But should you do things about it? Yes, you should listen. You listen and listen and listen. But everybody is going to be against you because your idea is the best one in the room. Do you understand that? So really, out of this, you have to believe in your idea. Even though everybody else is going to say that it's the wrong idea, but you don't believe in the idea because it's your idea. Do you understand that? Just because it's your idea does not make it right. But everyone's going to tell you that it's the wrong idea. So you're in a dilemma. So what do? The first thing, once you've got this idea, what's the next thing? You're going to go and ask for some money, or you're going to go and talk to some investors. You guys have to do that, right? You've got to go and pitch your ideas to investors. Yep. Yes, you do. You're going to have to pitch your ideas to investors. So you're going to have to be like me. You're going to have to stand up here and tell people about your idea, right? And so what are investors looking for? They're only looking for three things. Okay, so if you're going to write down anything today, for your investment, you're looking to tell them three things. Is your business scalable? Do you know what that means? Right? If you can sell one widget at $1, can you sell 100 million widgets at the same $1? Or does it cost you $100 million? Right? That's scalable. Global. You have to make sure that your product can be sold globally. Right? If this is a product only for New Zealanders, we only have a tiny little piece of the slither of the market in the whole world. Your product has to be global. So can you sell this to the Americans? Can you sell this to the 1.2 billion Chinese? That's a scalable product. And the third thing is the USP. Who knows what USP means? Okay. If you've got a product, you must understand why someone will buy your product over someone else's product. It's the USP, or the unique selling point. So investors are simple. And what I mean by that is you've got 1 minute to explain your very complex idea that you've been talking about and thinking about and really understanding over the last 6 months. 1 minute. Do you guys think you can do that? So in your investment pitch, be quick, get to the point, and make it very simple. So this is a really important thing for me. And I've made a lot of mistakes through the companies I've started, is to know who your customer is not. Do you understand what I mean by that? No? Okay. So everybody knows who their customer is. It's this person that buys your product. But what if you make a product and then someone else comes to you that's a little bit harder to sell to, but you go sell it to them as well? And you've got many different customers. If you can understand who your customer isn't, you can really focus on the customer that is right for you. And that's what makes a business. So you have a choice. You can either solve a tiny problem for everyone, a very small little problem for everyone, or you can solve everything for one person. And you have to understand which business model you fit into. Do you guys know, do you have an idea of what in your head right now? Are you solving a tiny problem for a lot of people, or are you solving are you solving all the problems for one type of person? Can you think about that? So, and as you go through your journey, you're going to find out that people aren't going to buy your product. And so you're going to try to diversify. You're going to say, well, it's not working here, so why don't I go and sell it to a whole lot of more people? The trouble with that, and you won't believe it, but you'll only once you've started doing this, selling to one type of person or one market requires a different marketing, a different sales, a different support system. As soon as you do 2 different markets, it doubles it. 3 different markets, 4 different markets, and you continually increase your costs. So all you need to think about here is just narrow down to the right person, the right little market that you're going to sell to first. You can diversify once you're making hundreds of millions of dollars like Amazon and Google and things like that. But right now you're looking for that one person that you can sell to that absolutely needs your product. Does anyone have Converse? Converse shoes? Bought Converse shoes? I haven't. But right. So this is around being cheaper. So I was a judge last year, and one of the biggest drawbacks is when people say, I'm going to make something exactly the same, but I'm going to make it a little bit cheaper. Who here has the latest iPhone? Or Samsung? Or the latest phone? I'm pretty sure that you all have smartphones, right? Okay. The point here is that people don't buy on price. When you go into a shop and you see an iPhone, you don't buy the Chinese version of it, do you? You always go for the iPhone, and you've got to think to your customers, you've got to explain to your customers all the time why they need to buy from you and why it's more expensive than the other product. Does anyone know Airwalk as a brand, a shoe brand? Airwalk. Anyone heard of that? So made in the same type of factories as Converse, exactly the same shoe, but it's a fifth of the price, but no one buys them. So people buy value, not on price. Does everyone understand that? It's very important. Please don't put into your pitches that your product is going to be cheaper than someone else's product. It's not that important. It actually does not make a business unless your whole business relies on cheap product, like Bunnings or who else? What's another product out there? Pack and Save, yeah, Pack and Save, perfect. And Kmart, they sell the cheapest, and that's their whole marketing strategy always. So unless your whole product is, we are really, really cheap and we're going to sell the cheapest of something, then you can talk about price. So who here is building an app? Yep. Right, so apps, everyone has apps. I'm assuming here everybody uses apps on their mobile phone? Yeah. How many apps do you think are used on a daily basis? Put your hands up if you think it's less than 5. 10? Yeah, you're right. It's less than 10. People will use less than 10 apps all the time. 90% of their screen time, have you heard of the concept screen time? Is going to be on 9 apps. So the only apps that work are the ones that get into that screen time. So how do you sell an app? Has anyone heard of the cost of acquisition? Okay, so when you sell an app, you're trying to get active users, right? And you understand the difference between an active user and a user. You've probably got 100 apps on your phone, and 90 of them probably sit there and you've never used them before. Some of them might be scams and things like that. But you need active users. You need people to use your app all the time. And they call this thing a cost of acquisition. It's a cost of acquiring a customer. What do you think the cost of, what do you think Uber's cost of acquiring a customer is? Sorry? No, so what do you think an actual cost? So what's the cost for one user, for them to buy one user? Who uses Uber? Do you guys use Uber? Yeah, everyone uses Uber, right? Right. So did anyone get a voucher in the early days to say, give me $20 and your friend got $20? You remember that? That's their cost of acquisition. They were acquiring customers by giving you $20 and your friend $20. So what is the cost of acquiring a customer? $40. It's actually $30 because they get 25% of it back because you use their service, right? Yep. So their cost of acquiring one customer is $30. Do you know how many users are on Uber right now? 100 million active users. So what have they spent on marketing? $1.5 billion. That's what they have spent to get all of those users. So in your investment pitches, when you're talking to people about your business and you say you're going to get 100,000 users, you guys ready? When you're going to say, I'm going to have 100,000 users on my app, what are you going to talk about? Cost of acquisition. You have to really understand that. If I'm going to get 100,000 users, how are you going to get them? Are you going to do $100 worth of Facebook marketing each month? And it's going to get me 10 users each month. How much is the cost of acquisition then? $10, right? So when you're talking about this, how much is it going to cost to get 100 to 100,000 users? This feels like a maths class. $1 million. These are the numbers that you need to understand when you're pitching your business to people. Does that make sense? So, and with mobile apps, it's screen time. It's all about screen time. So even once you've got that customer, you need to engage with them and tell them, how am I going to get this person to use this every day? And that's going to be really important when you're thinking about your business. Now I've got a cost of acquisition of getting a customer. And then once I've got my customer, I'm going to get them to use the app every day, and you're going to explain to everybody how. That is more important than the actual app function, right? Because I guarantee that if you will not be able to get people to use your app unless you can give them something to download it, to use it until you've got a good sized market. So, I mean, just to close this out. So, as I said before, ideas will come to you every day, and the ideas mean very little. So, you'll get many ideas, and you'll only action some of them, and then they'll fail. We talked before about Blackhawk and Fleet Agent and Tech Tools, and these are the brands that I've had that have succeeded. There's another 5 or 6 that you've never heard of and never will because I failed before they even started, and that's just normal in entrepreneurship. So the ideas that you have today, most likely they'll have 2 or 3 real gems in the audience, and they're going to be straight off the bat be absolutely perfect and really go the distance. Most, like me, will start an idea and start talking to people. And that idea will merge and will change, and eventually you'll come up with a real business idea. So don't worry if your idea is not quite right yet. The more you talk the more you talk about it to people, right, the better the idea will come. And really, you've probably heard this, don't tell people your idea. You're worried you're going to. Who's worried if they tell someone their idea, it's going to be stolen? Yeah, some people will think that way, right? But the truth is that if you're going to talk to someone about it, particularly another entrepreneur, they've already got 6 or 7 ideas already lined up that they're thinking about. And go back to the start, they probably think that their idea is the best, right? So they're not even going to think about using your idea, right? So talk to people, because they'll bounce back all the things that are wrong with it, and you'll write them down, and then you'll go and have a think about those. And then eventually your idea will merge and morph into this great idea, and you'll be able to have a business. So that's probably the best piece of advice I can give you, is talk to people about your idea, because it'll create a business. Thanks.
a Q&A now. Does anyone have any questions for Andrew?
And I realised I was after the party guy, so it's not very fun.
We got one right here.
Hi.
What do your companies do?
Technology. So in our B2B technologies, I know, does everyone understand the term B2B? So you either have a choice when you start a company to be a B2B or a B2C. A B2B is a business to business. So you're selling a business tool to someone, or B2C is business to consumer. So my businesses have all been business to business. You guys have heard of Xero? Yeah. Business to business tool, right? Facebook is a business to business tool, but it's also a business to consumer tool. But they're actually a business to business tool because the businesses are the ones that spend the money. So to answer your question, Black Hawk actually tracked all the cars that are financed around New Zealand. So if you finance a car and you don't pay your bills, the car stops working. Fleet Agent looks after all the excavators and things that you see on the side of the road and does cost management for them. Tech Tools teaches people how to use technology in business. Did that answer your question? That's a really good question, and it's something I actually missed out of here, so you're leading into this. So 10 years, or even 20 years ago, if somebody had gone to an investor and said, I'm going to pitch an idea that means that people upload their photos and people comment on it, you would have got laughed out of a room, right? And if someone had said to you, we're going to rent out your house to strangers, people would think that's a ridiculous idea. Who's going to do that? And just recently, who would stick a whole bunch of electric scooters around the city and then hope people would use it? It's a stupid idea, right? When you have an idea that people don't understand, it's really, really good, right? Maybe, right? So you're in a tech company. The real challenge is dumbing it right down to your value proposition, right? Get rid of all the tech. The tech can be in the background. The tech is the tool that generates value. So get rid of all that tech stuff and get your grandmother to explain to you what you do, right? That is your marketing. And that's what you need to sell to people, not this stuff. Does that make sense? How have they evolved? They evolved through necessity, mainly. So we've got, particularly with Black Hawk, there's 25 developers sitting in a back room in Penrose, and they are constantly developing the new tools. And you're listening to the customers. It's constantly listening to the customers for change. Technology companies never finish developing, right? I remember getting up on my first pitch in 2004 or 2005, and one of the investors said, how much will this cost to build? And I said, you'll never stop spending. This is a constant build forever. And now with 20, you can imagine 20 in development, you pay about $150,000 a year for a developer. You've got 25 developers, you can figure out what that is, right? That's paid in development every year, and it's been doing it since 2005. That's the cost of development. And more customers we bring on, the more development we do. Does that answer your question? So when you're saying, I've got an idea, a tech idea, it's a widget or a piece of software or an app, you're building a thing called the minimal viable product. Has everyone heard that? Yeah. So you're building whatever is, and when I say minimal viable product, this is not the product that you think's minimal viable. It's whatever the customer will do to buy your product. And then you'll develop and you'll develop and you'll develop. So think of your minimal viable product, how many customers you can get, the cost of acquisition to get those customers. Then once they're there, what's the cost of development going forward? I don't even know how much developers Facebook have. Must be in the tens of thousands. But they're constantly trying to build value so that people will spend advertising with them. Good. Yes, I left something out of my... Right, so when you are pitching to investors, they are not your customers. You're not creating advertising for them. You don't need the theatrics. What it is that you've got to explain those 3 points. Does everyone remember what the 3 things were that investors are looking for? So, say it out. Scalability. Perfect. It's got to be scalable, got to be global, and you've got to have a unique selling point. These are not your customers. They are your consumer, but while they're in that room, they're looking for those 3 points. Does that make sense?